Indeed, this year is a very special year for the party, as our comrades express full confidence in the leadership of the St. Kitts-Nevis Labour Party. And it is often said, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from. And at this point in our program, we'll have some very special presentations from the family members who they were there during the struggles. It was these persons, these families that basically they kept Labour going. It was on their backs that Labour was built. It is on their backs that Labour survived. It is on their backs that Labour was able to survive 81 years as a party. So we have three very special persons with us, and they'll make presentations. The first presentation would come to us from the third child of one of our national heroes, Sir Joseph Nathaniel France, and we'll invite his daughter, Miss Prudence France, to bring some remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, and Honorable Prime Minister, other ministers of government, invited guests, ladies, special people of labor, ladies and gentlemen. It was William Shakespeare in his play Julius Caesar who said, "The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred within their bones." Over the years, the Labour Party has highlighted and celebrated the contributions of those upon whose shoulders we stand today. The good that they have done will not be interred with their bones. If we do not take time to learn our history, we will never be able to appreciate our present and our future. I'm sure most of you are familiar with my father's history. He was born in Mount Lily, Nevis, in 1907 on the 16th of September. The same day he shares a birthday with Mr. Bradshaw. But what people do not realize, he was 9 years older than Mr. Bradshaw. Many of you know of Mr. France, about his legendary pockets, where he had $5 in one pocket, $10 in another pocket, $20, and there was a line of persons every Friday outside Massey's house waiting until he came out to ask him for some money. Some of them were legitimate, and some of them they just wanted some money. He always had money to give away. He always had something to give to somebody, except when it came to me. As a child, I used to go asking him for money, and I will always know the answer. I don't have any money. Maybe he was trying to teach me a lesson. I'm sure there was some profound lesson to be learned. I'm still trying to figure it out, though. What many people do not know about him, though, was that he was an accomplished musician. At a very early age, before 13, he played music. He played the organ in the Methodist Church in his hometown in Nevis, in Mount Lily, Nevis, and was offered later down a job at some prestigious place in the States, some music place, and he turned it down because he loved the people, he loved what he was doing, he was affiliated to the party, and the people were his major concern. He came to St. Kitts from Nevis at the age of 13, really to spend Christmas vacation with his oldest sister. However, he decided to stay on, and he got his first job at the St. Kitts-Nevis Universal Benevolent Association, which was commonly referred to as the Union. The persons who started the St. Kitts-Nevis Universal Benevolent Association really wanted to start a trade and labor union, but in those days it was prohibited by law to form any sort of association that involved trade unionism. So they had to resort to forming a friendly society, which they called the Universal Benevolent Association. He was the office boy there, the general gopher. He was the messenger, cleaned the office. And at the same time, he learned a lot. Because there were men who used to come to that, who were part of that association, who would meet there from time to time, and they would be speaking about the plight of the working class and how what they can do to better that. And he sat in on those conversations. He listened to them, and eventually developed that passion to be one of those men. He began his career as a printer at the Progressive Printery, which was connected to the Universal Benevolent Association. And in 1921, they started a newspaper, the Union Messenger, which addressed the plight of the underprivileged and the hardships of the working class. It was out of that newspaper that became growing awareness of what was happening. The people themselves became aware that they can agitate for what they wanted. Out of that came the St. Kitts Workers' League, and from that came the St. Kitts-Nevis and Guerrilla Labour Party. And that was in 1932. That was in 1932. It is significant that we note the date. That is where Labour started. The Labour Party came together in 1932. It grew out of the St. Kitts Workers' League. As an early member of the Workers' League, my father was very active in all the labor programs. He aroused along with some other men, aroused the working population's consciousness for the need to organize and agitate for what they wanted. In 1935, we know about the Buckley's riots, we've heard about the Buckley's riots, and in 1935 he was more or less the peacemaker, trying to keep calm, trying to keep everybody peaceful and calm during those very turbulent days. And the Buckley's riots was all about the working class asking for more money on their wages, and that brought about a whole riot. However, it was resolved after a lot of bloodshed and everything. But the Labour Party faced another trial in 1937 when they began agitating for the right to vote. Because up until that time, there was a legislative council which was made up of planters, the men with the money, the estate owners, the businessmen, and professional men. There was nobody representing the working class on the legislative at all. And they began to push for the representative of the local persons on that committee. Of course, they met with opposition. It was introduced in what was then their parliament. They debated on it, and they lost the debate because the persons who were against the labor movement banded together and defeated that bill. However, Labour didn't stop there. They went out in the streets, they went down to Anguilla, they got persons to agitate, to support their cause, and the struggle continued. However, in the end, the Labour Party won out because the Legislative Committee got together 200 votes to support their claim, and the Labour Party got 2,447 votes from the local people to support their claim. So in the end, the Labour Party won out. In 1938, my father was elected as secretary to the Workers' League, and he held, which later was the forerunner of the Labour Party. And he held that position until the time of his death. He was also secretary for the Trades and Labor Union, and he also held that position until the time of his death. He was a journalist, and he worked for the Labor spokesman. He brought different issues to light, which led to much debate. However, it is important to note here that his was a life of service. His was a life of service driven by passion. And his passion was the people. For without the people, there could be no party. His was a life of service, and he gave his all to make sure that the people had what we are enjoying today. After my father retired from active politics in 1989, I spent a lot of time with him. I had aspirations of writing a book sometime about his life. So we had these one-on-one talks. And at one point, I asked him if there was never any contention between himself and the other leaders. And he said, of course there were. Different times they had difference of opinions, and there was always something going on between them. So I asked him, well, how did you resolve those situations? Because on the outside, nobody heard about them. We just imagined there might have been something, but nothing came out. And he said, well, they just agreed to disagree, because the cause that they each represented was bigger than all of them. And I have never, ever forgotten those. The cause was bigger than all of them. And it's good for us to remember that the cause that the Labour Party represents is bigger than really all of us. It was here before us, and it will be here after us. We just need to stay focused. I hear there's a lot of talk about old Labour and new Labour and young Labour. But my father was the grandfather of the Labour Party. He was there at the beginning. He was there at the formation. Mr. Bradshaw and Mr. Southwell came along afterwards, and they all together moved as a team. This is the legacy that they have left behind. This is the legacy that he has left behind, that we must stick together no matter what, because the cause that we represent is bigger than all of us. In those struggling days, they struggled for things like better sanitation, land ownership, and all the things that we enjoy today is what they struggled for in 1938 and onwards. And it is significant to note that we no longer have to struggle for those, because those were the days of the struggle. Now Labour has implemented those, and we are enjoying the benefits and the fruits of their labour today, in 2013. I do not make long speeches like my father, who said, if a speech is short and proper, it is a good one. So I'm just here to encourage us all, that no matter what we see going on and hear going on, just keep in mind what we are here for. We are here for the benefit and the good of the people. My father struggled for the working class, the underprivileged. Those were the people who didn't have a say, who didn't have a voice. And he struggled for them along with the other leaders. Today, the struggle is not as intense, but we have to keep and maintain what they struggled for. We have to hold on to what we have, because we already know what the alternative is. And those of us who don't know what the alternative is, trust me, you don't want to find out. You do not want to find out. So, in conclusion then, I wish to congratulate the Labour Party. Never mind, they omitted my father's picture. I want to congratulate the party for coming this far. 81 years. It's a significant time. 81 years is not 81 days. And therefore a lot has happened over that period. But we are here today. And we have to remain grounded. We have to remain focused. We have to remain together and hold on to what our forefathers struggled and fought for. And then we can surely say that their good will never be interred within their bones. Thank you.